Okay guys, in the last video I mentioned something about rekeying a lock and didn't give it a second thought, but then several of you have written in asking how to do that, so I thought it might be a good time to cover that. So here we have an American core, and this can be any type of a lock. It really doesn't matter. As long as you can disassemble it and get access to the core, you can make a key for your lock. So what are some of the things you're going to need? Well, you're going to need a blank key. Now for this lock, there's a couple of different keys. The most common one is the American, it's the AM3, and that's a 5-pin key. If you don't have access to those, you got Access Plus keys. You can get these at Home Depot. And the number you're looking for a 5-pin lock is a number 91. If you decide to add an additional pin to this and turn it into a 6-pin lock, obviously you can't use a 5-pin key. You're going to want to get a hold of an American AM7, and it's the same key, it's just a little bit longer. And if you don't have those and have access to Home Depot, there you go, Access Plus, you're looking for a key number 111. Okay, so after you got your key, what are you going to need? You're going to need some kind of sharp object to make a mark with. And you can, here I have a scratch awl. You can use a needle. It doesn't have to be anything this fancy. You're also going to need a file. This one is made for lock impressioning, and if you don't have $25 or $30 to spend one of these, you don't have to. While you're at Home Depot picking up your access key, they sell this assortment of small files for $6. And inside of that little kit is a round one, and it's absolutely perfect. For $6 you get the whole set, but this round one is perfect for what we're getting ready to do, and that's to make a key. Alright, so how do we go about doing this? Well, first of all, we're going to repin this to 5 pins. Going to keep the original 5. So we're going to use the AM3 key, and we're going to put that in there. And what we notice right away when we inspect our key, if I can get this to focus, is that the top of the key is very rough, making it hard to see any of our marks. So if you have a little piece of sandpaper, and this one is 1000, you can use any grit, it really doesn't matter. All we're going to do is we're going to place it on a flat surface like our pinning board here, and we're just going to rub our key like this to kind of smooth out that surface, to give us something to work with and make it easy to detect our scratches. And there we go. That's a lot better than what it was. Okay, once we've got that, all we do, we take the key, we slide it into the core. Now we need to know where to make our cuts. So the way that we're going to do that, we're going to take your needle, or in this case this really sharp awl, and just put it down into the hole as center and just make a small mark on each of the 5 holes. Doesn't have to be deep, it's just so that we know where to file. And again, if I can get the camera to cooperate in the reflection, I think you can start to see those little scratches on there. That's where we're going to file our first grooves. So then let's take this, clamp it up in the vise, and start making some grooves. Alright, we got this thing clamped up. I think you can see here the marks show up with the lighting a little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we want to do now is get a good marking about where these are, because these scratches could disappear as we start filing. So we're going to 0-bit this key. And what we're going to do is just line up as closely as we can to those marks and just put about 2 or 3 strokes, trying to keep the file level and without our vise falling over, just to mark where the center of each of these are. And we'll do that for each of them. Okay, we've got our key 0-bitted. We got each of the 5 places marked fairly well. We'll just put 2 or 3 strokes to mark them. Now what we're going to do, take our key, place it into the plug, and take the first pin and place them in the first hole. Now what we're going to need to do is on that mark, we're going to need to grind or file it down so that the top of this pin is absolutely flush with the top of the plug, which of course is our shear line. So we're just going to keep working on position number 1 until such time as that pin is perfectly flush. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, you see now we've ground the key down until now that pin is perfectly flush with the top of the shear line there. But you'll notice that your key has a lot of trouble coming out, and that's because this angle is too steep for him to climb over, but don't worry about that right now. Simply remove that first pin and now place the second pin into your core, and let's go ahead and cut the groove for him. And you can see we're going to have to cut him a lot. He's going to be a deep groove. Alright, there's that second one, and it's again perfectly flush with the shear line just the way we want them, but you're probably starting to notice you're running into a little problem. And the problem is not with the pins, so let's dump those out. The problem that you're going to start to run into is with the key itself. When you have bittings that are as different as these, you'll notice that we have just a little problem right here, this tall ridge line between those two. Don't worry about that right now. We're going to fix it. But right now we're going to continue. We're going to put pin number 3, 4, and 5 sequentially, and we're going to go ahead and cut those grooves. Then we're going to come back and talk about how to deal with these little mountains right here. Alright, there we go. We got all 5 of them pretty well clear to the shear line there. Look pretty good. So, but you'll notice the key doesn't want to come out. And that's because we got to dump these out. That's because we have one very ugly key that we're trying to work with here. We can't get the key either in or out, and that's because we got all these sharp, jagged edges. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take a little needle file and we're going to round off all of these edges. For example, between this very low cut and this very high cut, we're going to knock off that mountain and just round him off right there. Since these two are very close, we're going to knock him off, round that bad boy off, and so forth, just to smooth the key so that it'll slide in and out of the lock fairly easily. So let's do that now. Alright fellas, it's still not a work of art, doesn't look like a machine cut, but it does slide into the lock very smoothly and lines up everything to the shear line perfectly, just the way we want. So now let's just go ahead and reassemble this lock and see if our efforts paid off. Alright fellas, got this thing back together and I didn't even have any pieces left over. So take our key that we just made and it works very smoothly, perfectly, almost like store-bought. So fellas, it's not that difficult. This took all of 10 minutes. It'll probably take me longer to edit the video. But any lock that you can pick open and remove the core, whether it's this no name, I think that's a tube light, whether it's a Schlage or a Quickset, any of those where you can get the core out, you can hand file a new key for it. No reason to throw it away, and you really don't need a pinning kit. All you need is a file and a blank key, which by the way, they cost about $1. Anyway, fellas, thanks for your time. Everybody stay safe and stay legal.